Hello and welcome to this tutorial for Origami Engine. Today we're going to be looking at the type tool and the type object. Type is one of the key elements when you're designing, whether it's in print or interactive or mobile. And we've spent a great deal of energy and effort creating a set of tools for designers and communicators to be able to use the type tool as effectively as they possibly can. So the type tool basically revolves around the type button up here at the top in the middle of the tools. To add a text box to the stage, you choose where you want to add it. In this case, I've added some guides to give me a reference to where I want to put my text box. You click on the text box and you click and drag the way you would in other design pieces of software. And then it creates the text box with lorem ipsum in it already. To get rid of the lorem ipsum, you just double click it and you can delete the lorem ipsum. The text box is scalable and adjustable as you'd expect it to be. If you want to create multiple text boxes at the same time, you would double click on the text tool, then it would stay in that mode and you'd be able to create as many as you want. When you wanted to then select it, you'd have to go back and choose the selection tool. So we're going to go and we're going to add a text box into this area. So I've added my wide text box here. Now I'm going to align it to the guides. You'll notice in the bottom right corner there's a little red dot. That red dot is an overflow dot showing that there's text that I can't see that's inside this box. It has multiple functions, the overflow element, but one of the functions is to create linked text boxes. So if I wanted to create a linked text box, I would simply click on the red dot, I would drag it out, and then I would have my additional linked text box, and they'll work together. You'll see they adjust as you move them or you change the size and the parameters of them. So in this case we don't want that, we just want our single text box. One of the other special characteristics about Origami Engine is that you can embed fonts. So we're going to use the font made for our company, Katachi Sans, for this, but we have to embed it in this package. When you embed the font, it will actually add it to the OEP package and deliver it onto the iPad. So make sure that you have the correct rights and licensing so that you're allowed to do that. When you do embed it, it obfuscates the font. So the font is not available except for when it's being run in the application that's part of Origami Engine. So to add our fonts, we go over here to our Assets tab, Import Media, and then we're going to find our fonts here. So here's my list of fonts. We support OpenType and TrueType fonts. So I've imported my fonts now. They also have to, of course, be available in your system. But so here I can now go over to my type inspector. And so this is what the type inspector looks like whenever you've selected a type object. So we have our font family, our font weight, the font size, the leading, kerning, tracking. Below that we have the color of the font. So I'm going to change the type to white. Then we have rendering options. Rendering options are set to default here. This will give you the best quality for anti-aliased fonts. We also have smoothing. What smoothing provides you with is it provides you with a very slight level of bolding. In the case of using extremely lightweight fonts on a Retina display, they tend to fall apart. So this will give you an ever so slight increase in the weight of the font that will make lightweight fonts look better on the Retina display. So if you're doing pixel typography and you want to make it very hard and sharp, then you will turn all of these off. So then we have alignment below that. So we have left, center, right, justified, etc. Top, middle, and bottom. We have hanging punctuation that you can turn on and off. Hanging punctuation works for the entire text box, not on a line-by-line basis. Then below that we have controls over the spacing and margins and positioning of the text. So we have space above a paragraph, space below a paragraph, indent, first line indent, baseline shift, padding on all four sides, and then padding top, bottom, left, and right. Down below that we have a hyphenation. Because we support multiple languages, you can choose the specific type of hyphenation you want, or you can set it to automatic. Auto will just simply find the language that you've specified your document in, and it'll apply the hyphenation for that language. Then we have effects. So here we have full bold, italic, all uppercase, all lowercase, drop caps, superscript, subscript, underline, and strike through. And then finally below that we have a checkbox called selectable. And selectable, what that means is it makes the text selectable inside your application. In other words, the user or the reader will be able to select the text and copy and paste it. By default, selectable is on. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to go and create, or we want to add the font here. So we're going to go into the font list, create Hitachi Serif. We want to change the weight of it, 16/20. And then I want to create it, I want to align it to center. So now I need to go and find the text that I want to use. And I'll select all the text here and paste it in. So when you're copying and pasting within Origami Design, then it retains all the properties connected to the type. When you're copy and pasting from outside of Origami Design into it, then it strips away all the styles and it uses all of the styles and characteristics that are already present in the text box. The thing I want to do here is I want to change that so that the period ends there. And now we've done what we need to do for this text box. So we're going to go down here and add a second text box. So I've set my guides here as well. Now I have my text in there. I need to go and get my real text. I'll copy and paste it. Set the color to white. Change it to Hitachi Serif. And 20/16. No. 16/20. So in this case, what I want to do instead of centering is I want to create columns. So in the inspector you see here at the top we have a type tab and a column tab. So I'm going to create two columns of equal width. You can create columns in variable widths if you want. And I'm going to set the gutter to 24 pixels. So I've done this. Obviously it's out of balance because one of the columns is bigger than the other. And also you notice as I narrow this down, a little bit of the text has gone outside of the box, so I have an overflow. So what I want to do is I want to actually adjust the tracking here. So I've made minor adjustments of the tracking, and now all of the text is inside of these two columns. We have a straggling carriage return there that I've gotten rid of. So now the text is all prepared and set in its double column. This covers the basics of the text tool. The type will copy and paste between multiple languages in the exact same position with all the same styling that you've set up here. You can also style the actual text box the way you would do with any other object, with the height, width, X and Y, and the color of the background if you want to set the color of the background for the text box. There's also one other way of handling the embedding of fonts within the system. So if you go into Preferences, then you'll see we have Typography as one of the elements in Preferences. By default, the fonts that you'll find in the type inspector list are iOS 5 fonts. You can also set it to iOS 4 fonts or all the fonts on your system. So when you set it to iOS 5, then that means it will only show you the fonts that are available on the iPad in iOS 5 or older. It'll also only give you other fonts that you've embedded in this specific document. So in the case that you're using a set of custom fonts that you want to be able to embed in every single document you ever do. So for example, let's say you have a company typeface that you use in all of your documents. You don't have to embed that into every single asset list that you've created. All you have to do is go to Additional Fonts, hit Add the fonts that you want to add to that list. You can continue to add as much as you need to, not just one time. So now I have all the fonts that I want to make available in all of the OEP packages that I create using the system. Now that I've done that, I don't need to add the fonts into the asset list anymore. It will automatically add them every single time. So that's the basics for typography. Come and check out our YouTube channel for more different tutorials and learning more specifics about Origami Engine.